used to live my life a quarter mile at a time. But things changed. I'm a father now.
We flash back to your younger self in this.
Yeah.
The actor that played the younger Dom Toretto did a phenomenal job, but then I thought about the young Vin Diesel. You at that age.
Yeah.
What was that like?
I started bouncing at 17, 18. I had been acting for 10 years, doing off Broadway. I remember going, if I'm not a star by the time I'm 15, I'm just gonna stop. Then if I'm not a star before I have to go to college, I'll just stop. And then if I'm not a star, and then of course, I didn't get paid as an actor until I was 30 years old.
Wow.
On Saving Private Ryan.
Wow.
I was happy. I grew up in the coolest building, in the coolest neighborhood, in the coolest city, in the coolest country in the world. And literally, I grew up in an artist housing. I just was filled with optimism in spite of the evidence. And I just, so much, it was the 80s. And I just so much loved being me. I felt like even though I was struggling and even I couldn't get, I had so much confidence.
Well, even though you say that, you said, about being you. I know people think you and this character are synonymous, and you are at this point after 20 years, but I know there's a Dom shrine that you go into to get into character.
So true.
And that you have a wall that Justin Lin talked about with all the characters and string.
So
and
true.
What is that? Who do you leave behind to be Dom? Like, what happens in that shrine? We'll never see it. What is in there?
Unfortunately, well, it's part of the process, but everyone. I leave behind the son, the brother, the father. Justin Lin was with me, working with me during the day on the night that my son was born. And jump cut to my son being 8 years old and him casting him to play young Dom.
Wow. And he did a great job.
Not my idea.
Really?
And not only not my idea, I don't know if I would have, happy I was about the idea. And I'll tell you why. When I go home, I'm dad. But for my son to be on set when Dom is going through a very deep moment, filled with reflection, he's not on set with his father. He's on set with someone else, albeit Dom Toretto, that he knows, but he's not on set with his father. When I got home, I'll never forget this twinkle that he had in his eye.
Uh-oh.
when his father had returned.
Wow.
He had worked all day, and he was striving to do the best to make Justin proud.
Wow.
and to make Justin happy. But all along saw almost me lost in character.
Wow.
And it's a surreal thing to remember, but I do remember it. And so when you say, what do you leave behind? You leave it all behind. I feel like growing up in New York, as kids, we're always trying to kind of find our identity. In spite of the confidence, I was searching for my identity. And I think that characters, at a young age, I remember playing characters on a script was therapeutic in a way because the parameters of your identity were clear. So I don't know how that relates, but when...
Well, let me ask you, moving forward, because I'm already looking forward. I know you and Justin are looking forward to 10. Yeah. Wrapping this up, do you have the end game in sight? Have you seen Dom's last shot? Do you have it in your mind? Do you know where it is? And then moving forward, what if fans aren't done? What if you're not done?
And man, is it a profound one. And what if the audience is not ready? What if? You learn a lot of things in life. And yeah, sometimes we're not ready. Sometimes we're just not ready. I don't know how that answers
Does
it.
that mean it'll keep going? Do you see how it could spin off?
Well, I think, I'm glad you asked that, Nikki. This is the end of this mythology. This is the end of this leg era of the saga. Will the Fast and Furious universe disappear? No. It'll be more formidable than ever. But as a storyteller that always lives with the pressure of tomorrow, a book can't be never ending. A story must have a conclusion. Just to pay homage, in service of the story. And it's sometimes, we have mixed feelings about coming upon the conclusion. But that's where we are.
Okay, so that means you are ending it. Justin said there's always a chance. And I'll put in one request, Toretto and a T-Rex, please.
I knew it was coming! Oh, God, I knew it was coming! Oh.
Just when you thought I had good ideas. I'm like,
Nikki, 5 years from now. 5 years from now. Remember you said that.
Okay. Great to see you. People are already talking about the next movie. We still haven't had this movie land in theaters yet.
Right.
But I'm hearing rumors of a Jurassic Park crossover. I don't know if you've heard about it, but would you be on board to like go toe to toe with like a velociraptor?
I heard those rumors, but someone made that up, right? Like on Twitter or something.
I don't know, or did it come from Justin? I mean, I think somebody asked Chris Pratt about it. I think that's how it started, and he said he'd be down
really?
for it. So I'm like, now I have to ask you guys if you'd be down for it.
That's really funny.
Yeah.
Of course I'd be down for it. I think it'd be really, I feel like everyone hears these ideas and then they go, no, and then it'd be like, well, maybe why not? You know what I mean? Like, why not? Crazier things have happened.
Right, because if you had said in this one, you'd be going to outer space.
Totally. Or even we started out as Redline, and then all of a sudden our title turned into Fast and Furious. And initially I was like, no, that's not a great title. I don't understand. And
Really?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Worst instincts ever.
Okay, so you'd be cool with the raptor. You'd be cool with the Jurassic situation.
I
I'm going to
would.
throw another scenario at you, because
Also, I love Bryce Dallas Howard. I think she's so amazing. So like any excuse to work with her.
Yes. Oh, she's amazing.
she
Great
is.
director too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's
She
really
could direct.
kicking butt.
Well, no, Justin's doing. Well, actually, speaking of females, I'll go in that direction. First, all-female action scene in this one, as well as the fact that you have a female writer.
Yes.
This time. How did that change the dynamic for you? And I heard you were just like, get me in there for that scene.
I really was.
Yeah.
Because I haven't really had action since the 5th. And that's partially because I was tied up on a television show and I wasn't able to like spend as much time on the Fast and Furious sets, which killed me. It absolutely killed me. So I just said to Justin, like, please let me in there. I would send him pictures of me and videos of me training, and because I'm a really active person and I love to train, and so that was just never really showcased. So hopefully I get to do more of that in the future.
So talking about the future, so what are you putting out there for the next one? Because I'm sort of picturing like possibility of a spin-off, or like where do you see Mia? Because I know you're also thinking of tying things up in the next few films, unless the fans demand more, of course. But how would you like to see Mia ride off into the sunset? Have you thought about the end game for her? Like where would you like to see her go?
I haven't thought about the end game. I would love more action. I would love to explore. I loved how in 9 we get to learn so much about the history of the Torettos and why things are the way they are, and psychologically why the characters are where they're at. And so I would love to explore the relationship with Letty. I'd love to see, I've never really had a scene with Ramsey either. Like, I would love to see the girls go off and do their own thing for a little bit. I think that would be really fun. And yeah, action is what I want.
Okay, so
for Mia.
if you could have another person be cast as another long-lost relative, who would you cast?
You know what would be really cool? Penelope Cruz or Sandra Bullock, I think would be really, really cool.
We know Sandra Bullock can drive fast.
She can. She can, absolutely.
We know this.
Yes.
I'm seeing another crossover now.
Totally.
No,
Totally.
those would be good. Okay, so I'm going to go off on another tangent. The fact that you're going sci-fi in this one, I'm thinking parallel universe. If you guys were to meet up with yourselves in a parallel alternate
gosh.
timeline, what kind of who do you hope Mia is, and that you get to go face to face with? Because you would get to also obviously play her.
I would love Mia to inhabit Letty's persona a little bit more. So maybe like instead of becoming a mom and being a good girl, Mia just like went completely the other route and went to prison and is just like crazy and like just doesn't listen to any rules and is just like badass. That's
I
what I'd
love
to
this
do,
idea.
right?
This needs
Wouldn't
to
that be
happen.
fun?
Yes.
I agree.
Yes, and then you would have scenes opposite her. That would be incredible.
amazing.
Do I need to pitch this? I need to go
Yes.
back in Justin's room and
Do, please,
Okay.
immediately.
Speaking of family, you had your children on set. I think your son plays a small
Yes.
role.
Yeah.
The fact that this is 20 years later, and you know, I just rewatched the first one. The fashion has come back. By the way, all that early 2000s
The
fashion.
jeans with a cutoff, like, I know.
I've been-
the platforms, like the whole thing.
So good.
Yeah.
I hope you kept some of that wardrobe. But just full circle, like going from that early 2000s to now having your children on set. Like what?
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing because it's also the most welcoming set as a mom because Vin's got his kids there, I've got my kids there, Chris, and so it's like they're all in a camp, kind of. It's really amazing.
And so I know you guys got together in London and you had your dinner. You have your dinner on screen and you have your dinner off screen. Was there
do.
an initiation for John into the family? Did you give him a bit of a hard time?
We didn't know. I think it's hard enough for someone walking into the set before they realize that we don't bite and like we're cool. And I think the hard part is getting in, and then once you're in, like it's awesome. No, just like getting the role. I think is what's hard. Getting in the franchise. So yeah, I think that was. I think the toughest part about those dinners is we all have to have a toast. So we all have to like get up and speak, and like I'm afraid of public speaking in that sense. So I'm always like, oh my god, what am I gonna say? What am I gonna say? Yeah, John had a dinner for him on his behalf, and hopefully he felt very welcome.
So what did you say?
I was just like, you are gonna have so much fun. Enjoy this. And I was also a little bit starstruck because it's John Cena, and you know my son's also like a huge John Cena fan. So it was like, wow, you're gonna play my brother? Like that's crazy.
I think you might be on the wrong set. Isn't that Taj's car behind you?
You know what I'm saying?
You know?
Like, if I see all of Ludacris interviews for this movie and we're sitting on the same set, I didn't even physically get in the truck. Matter of fact, I got in the truck in one scene. And you know what scene I'm talking about.
Okay, but I have to say, your whole spectrum in this movie, you get to do it all. And listen, Dom Toretto might live his life a quarter mile at a time, but I heard that when you read the script, you read it 20 pages at a time because you were just like mind blown. I have to take a moment. Is that true?
It's true. It was a lot. It was a lot in one sitting. But you know, a lot of times when you read scripts on like a Transformers effect, a lot of stuff is written for what they're gonna be doing and special effects and just the stuff that's way above my pay grade. So it becomes like you're reading it and you're just like, okay, I don't really know how much of this is for me versus, you know, for them.
So I'm only bringing up romance with you. I'm not bringing it up with any of the other cast members because it's in your name, Roman. Is moving forward as we're wrapping up this franchise, is there going to be romance for Roman? Do we think Tej needs the romance? He hasn't had one. Who should end up with with Ramsey, like, I'm just saying.
Well, here's the thing. This would be my first time acknowledging this publicly. But I think Tej has already gotten the girl. I think Tej has already gotten Ramsey. Because I think what he did was he's gotten away from all the jokes and the banter that we used to have, moment by moment, scene by scene, and he's kind of pivoted into technology and all of the, typing in computers and finding things in outer space and God's eye, this and that. So he's kind of, I think he figured out her love language. And he's already got Ramsey. I think he got her. So Roman definitely needs some romance. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this out there in the universe. Not only do I think she's very beautiful and has a lot of fire, but I think she has a personality that would make all the sense in the world for Roman's first romance to be Rihanna.
Okay. Oh, Rihanna. So is this a dream co-star? Because I was going to ask you, like, we get to see Toretto's backstory in this movie, meet his family. When are we meeting your family? And who would that be? And if we're going to see Roman sort of like, as we're wrapping up this movie, I almost picture him on a beach somewhere in the last shot with a lot of snacks and maybe Rihanna. What's your dream? For Roman, of course.
I feel like I'm listening to a Roman pitch right now. I like it. But yeah, I think, her name is Bad Girl Riri for a reason. I think she makes all the sense in the world for this franchise. I'm not trying to flirt. I'm not trying to beeline and make a move. I'm specifically speaking Roman and saying, who could I see myself having a few scenes with and being in the car with me and kind of taking certain journeys with me and putting on leather and shooting and doing all kind of hot girl action stuff without even blinking. It would be Rihanna.
This is your spinoff. So they're wrapping me, but just one last question. I know you all have a cast dinner together in London before you started shooting this, and that Vin makes everybody sort of stand up and say something. What did you say? What was your toast?
I don't want to say. It was a really long toast. It was a really long time coming before we got back to doing Fast 9. And boy, was it good to be in that room and have that moment and listen to all the people that had been thinking and feeling and going through the highs, the amazing, the breakthroughs, the challenges. It was a moment, and it's something that I think we should all keep near and dear to our heart forever.
Please tell me that's not a Pontiac Fiero strapped to a rocket engine?
Impressive. I know.
No, that's not impressive.
Listen, I'm going back to the beginning and I'm seeing that the fashion is coming back now from the early 2000s. You guys could bring back all of that stuff. First of all, I just want to say congratulations on going to outer space.
Thank you so much. Before Tom Cruise, Richard Branson, Elon Musk, everybody, Tej and Roman went to outer space.
You inspired it. According to Justin, your existential crisis inspired it. So when you found out, tell me about that moment. Did you read the script? Did somebody call you and tell you, guess what? This is finally the film. We're going to the final frontier.
I had to read the script. Two things every time I get the new script. I always look, is Tej going to stay alive in this damn franchise? And then number two, what can we do that we've never done before? And as soon as I read that, I was jumping for joy. I loved it. I was like, I wouldn't have never thought of that, ever.
Really? Well, it almost seemed like, because, people have teased it, people have talked about it for so many films now, like when was it going to happen? The fact that it was the two of you and they chose to make it so funny, like laugh out loud, everybody was screaming in the theater watching it. just give me a sense of what it felt like to film it. Like the wardrobe, everything was so perfect, and how much riffing went on, and how much is on the cutting room floor. Like, could we have a director's cut of just the two of you, like riffing?
That is such a great question, because they cut a lot of it out of us being suspended in air and defying gravity because of, you know, the space, trying to emulate space. And one, it was very uncomfortable because how we had to make it happen, and being on harnesses and things of that nature and in these spacesuits that were hot as hell was uncomfortable. But on the other hand, it was absolutely phenomenal because we knew we were, you know, breaking new ground and doing something that was going to transfer on screen the way that you just said it would.
It totally did. So how is it hanging in a harness? Was that the first time you've done that for a film?
Very uncomfortable. Trust me, we had to put on like 2 different suits underneath, and then like these belts that had to get straps, and then put on all of the spacesuit uniforms. We were sweating, we were uncomfortable, but again, we do anything in order to get that right take so that when people go to the theaters, they're like, yo, this is the most amazing scene. That's what it takes, the sacrifice.
You did. You sacrificed, and it totally paid off because it was my favorite of the whole movie, possibly of the franchise. It was really awesome. Okay, so how are you going to top yourselves? What are you going to do next? What are you putting on your bucket list? What do you want? What are you putting out into the ether? How are you inspiring Justin this time?
So I said that I feel like we need to do fight scenes somehow underwater, or we need to do fight scenes in air, like how someone is like bungee jumping or skydiving and fighting at the same time. That's the only thing I could possibly think of. Like, I don't know what else could be done.
Time travel, Jurassic World crossover.
Oh my God.
Parallel universe where you're fighting yourself in an alternate universe. I got loads of ideas for you guys, by the way.
Can you please help explain how Fast and Furious and Jurassic World could make sense of them crossing over, please? So the dinosaurs would have to get teleported to present day, right?
Well, or you guys could jump in a time machine and go faster than you've ever gone before, faster than the speed of light.
Hilarious.
Talk to me about like the possibility of a spinoff, because I talked to Justin and Vin a little bit. What would you like to see in terms of a spinoff? Would you like to see your character and Roman, like, you know, spinning in the outer space for a while? You guys can have a chat show, a YouTube channel, anything. But what would you like to see for a spinoff?
I would like to see a spinoff with all of the women. All of them. I'm talking about Jordana, Michelle, Nathalie, Charlize, you know, all of the women in this franchise. I would love to see that. I think it would be badass.
Well said. Well said. I want to talk a little bit about your cast dinners. I know you had one in London before, and Jordana told me that you guys actually all have to make a toast. I just want to know what the vibe is. Like, who is that? Like, are you great at making a toast? How does that go down? What are you guys eating? I know I think maybe you stole Nathalie's food on set. I think you did it in the past with one of your past castmates. Are you the one stealing all the food?
They're really telling on me. Oh man, I eat so much. You know what? I will go out and say, yes, I stole Nathalie's food. Every time we go to dinners, Vin makes everyone have a speech and make a toast. It's the most incredible thing, but we love being put on the spot because, you know, it's just the appreciation we have for one another, and you get to hear new things each and every time of why we're so thankful to have the best jobs in the world, being a part of the best franchise in the world.
So real quick, what did you put out there this time, if you can share any of it? What did you say? What new thing did you share at this time?
I was saying that it's great to be a part of a franchise movie where people, in a time where streaming is becoming so popular and people would prefer to stay at home, we are one of the few franchises where people want to leave their home still to go get the theatrical experience, and thank God for it.
Damn, they got a magnet plane?
About 2 major moments in this film for your character, because we see a lot more of her this time around and in a very different light than we've seen her before. So first of all, rite of passage to finally get behind the wheel in a Fast and Furious movie. Can you describe that moment? Was it like, oh my gosh, was there any tips from the cast members? Not that you need any, about, you know,
I mean, I need the whole point is that she needs as many as she can get because she doesn't drive. So it was. I loved that. I finally got to drive in the Fast and Furious movies, and I got to drive in a way that was non-conventional to the history of these films. Like, she's a bad driver, and that's just kind of hilarious and funny. And I also don't drive, so for me, it was just like poking fun at that as well, and I got to have fun with it. And you know, the kind of clumsy, not knowing what I was doing thing came quite naturally. So
okay. So it wasn't hard to, because sometimes maybe it'd be hard to pretend that you can't drive. But okay, the second moment
I can drive, but I haven't for a long time. So it's just like my memory is not all there with it.
And the second moment I wanted to talk about, it's the all-female fight scene. And we see a lot more action from you this time around. And we have a female writer this time. So how did that shape your character, the dialogue, and talk about, if you could just break down that scene for me.
When I watched it, I was just like blown away by the kind of ferocity of our amazing female cast. I was just like, yes, it just gave me like butterflies in my stomach. It was so good, and I loved it. But I think the presence of a female voice is just really strong in this film, and you know, like there are. Especially for Ramsey, like where she's often having to like take the reins a little bit and really direct this team and help the team get to the next stage of this mission. And so you see a lot of the female characters having more responsibility and having more stakes in the story. So it's fantastic.
Jordana told me she would love to see some sort of a female spinoff. Everybody's talking about, could there be a crossover with Jurassic World? What would be your what would be your ultimate crossover? And what would you see for your character for a spinoff? Do you think that would be something you would be into?
I would definitely be into a spinoff with the other women of this franchise. And I think my fantasy is that we somehow bring back every iconic female character in the history of the franchise, and like we're in a cool hideout and it's like really well decorated because obviously, and then like everyone's just like so sick and just being amazing, and we have a great time. But in terms of like a crossover, I don't know it's hard. It's hard to think of it. I mean, the Jurassic World thing sounds pretty like crazy. So, I mean, why not?
I think, well, here's what I'll say about like the last two films before we get to that moment. I think Vin is kind of teased, like we maybe have to hit all 7 continents in the next film, at least go around the world. What is your dream location to shoot in? Do you have, if you were going to put in a request, what would be your request for the next?
Ooh, oh gosh, the list is really long. I feel like they've already been to Brazil, but like I'd love to go to like Japan or somewhere in the East. Like that would be really cool. Or just like selfishly, I'd love to go to like the Caribbean, like to a different part of the Caribbean, because I know they've shot in different places too, because my family are Caribbean. So I'd love to go to one of the smaller islands there. Or, I don't know, like somewhere, they've shot in Iceland, so I don't know.
I know, like what haven't they done, right?
Australia would be good as well.
Perfect choice. I was so hooked. That's my bucket list choice for you guys. I know you said in an interview before that you want John Cena to be your life coach, that you're so into the WWE, you're a wrestling fan. I talked to him about it yesterday. I asked him if he knew that about you. He said he didn't know. And I asked him for life advice, but why do you want John Cena to be your life coach?
Have you seen his Twitter? He's so wise. He just says the like most amazing, like real like life lessons, and I was like, this guy is so switched on, and like he just really gets it. And I thought John Cena could be a great life coach because he seems to have he's so like sensitive to those big life lessons that we can all learn from, and he tweets these amazing things, and I'm like, yeah, he's smart. Like I would happily let him give me advice as a life coach.
Been a long time, Dom.
So first of all, we see your character as well as a younger Dom in this film. And the guys that played those characters did an amazing job of sort of picking up your nuances. And it made me think back to like, what was John Cena like as a teenager? If your part of your life was a movie scene that we flash back to, was this, you know, do you think that everything that's happening now was sort of in the stars, or was there a metamorphosis? What was your high school like?
Man, I don't know how much of that would have been determined then. I know that I was structurally rebellious, is the best way I can say that. Continuously challenging authority and norms, I think in the way that an adolescent probably does, but also really grateful for the structure I had. I lived at boarding school. I was a two-sport athlete, dedicated to physical fitness and, you know, just all that stuff. But at the same time, I regularly challenged authority and faced its wrath many times. Structurally rebellious, I think, is a good way to say
I think
that.
that should be a new phrase, structurally rebellious. Well, I know Nathalie said that she wants you to be her life coach. I don't know if she told you that, but has she told you that? And if that is the case and you are a life coach, for everybody out there, what would be your number one piece of advice?
I would say start every day grateful and end every day fulfilled.
Wow. So did she tell you this, by the way? Have you heard this before? Really?
No, that's news to me. I'm very flattered.
I want to talk a little bit about Fast and Furious. Is what they're doing with Fast 9, I think, is so much fan service. They're giving the fans what they've been wanting. They always want more family. They gave us more family with your character. You know, they're bringing Han back, outer space, the whole thing. So we're never satisfied, though, as fans. We're always thinking ahead. So I'm thinking ahead to where we could see possibly your character go. And if we're talking about giving the fans what they want, would you ever see a matchup with your character and Hobbs? Jacob and Hobbs, I mean, you've met up in the ring. What do you think that would be like to meet up in an acting scene?
I don't know. I think it would be very entertaining. I'm glad that that's kind of the word amongst the fans, because the fans truly control the success of the film. So if people want to see more, that may mean that I get to be another in another one of these things. And I really had a lot of fun. But I think it speaks volumes to the monster star power that the cast of Fast and Furious is, to say that, like, hey, we can now do these crazy mythical matchups and see if they happen. I think just even having that conversation is an important testament to the franchise and the people associated with the franchise. And man, that just we'll see. That all seems so surreal, but you never know, I guess.
Okay, so if you're going toe to toe, The Rock, or there's rumors of a crossover with Jurassic World, The Rock or a Raptor, what do you think would be your tougher opponent to go up against in a scene?
Ooh, that's like a tale of the tape. Dwayne is such a unique and successful and unreal individual. I think he certainly trumps anything prehistoric.
Oh, really?
I honestly think that I think the Raptor would be entertaining for a split second. I think the possible storyline capabilities of the combination you mentioned, I think, would be much more entertaining.
Well, I think everybody would love to see that. Because you guys have such a history in the ring. It'd be really cool, because I know he also gave you acting advice about sort of being yourself.
He did. Not only that, that's life advice. He gave me really good life advice when I was just really concerned about behaving a certain way. It was in 2012. And he was like, hey, man, just be yourself. They called you there for a reason. He was almost upset that I didn't know that. He's like, just be yourself. They called you there for a reason. And that really, that's stuck, because I was comfortable being myself.
Yeah. And one last question. I know that you said acting in a movie is, and for the fans in this franchise, it's almost like being in the ring, where you earn it. You earn that audience's respect, step by step, piece by piece. Was there a moment filming this where you thought to yourself, okay,
I think I've earned it. I mean, joining this franchise is such a huge thing. So what was that moment for you where you really hooked in and felt that?
So I felt a sense of family very early on, and also from both having to earn it. Like they were very standoffish in questioning my intentions, but when they saw that my intentions were true, they welcomed me into the family. I look at life in a sense of, if you think you have earned it, then you have a lot to learn. I don't think I've reached the point where I've ever earned it. I think there's always something to be earned. And I think the Fast family operates in that capacity. They have 8 movies and $6+ billion to rest their hat on, but they do not do that. They forge forward and they continue to try to top themselves in cinematography, in plausible practical action, in cast acquisition, in narrative, in giving the fans what they want, in winking to the camera on occasion. Like, they lean into everything, when essentially they could say, like, we've earned it, we don't have to. They just refuse. So I can't fall in line to rest on my laurels when the people around me don't. You know, I don't look at it that way.
Hey guys. Surprise.
Nice clubhouse.
Hi, I know when you got to your trailer on set for Fast 9, you were actually in Helen Mirren's trailer. They gave her trailer. Her tea was there and her sides, her script.
Yes.
Did you drink her tea? Did you sneak a peek at her script?
I drank her tea because she drinks P&G tea. To this day, I still drink P&G tea because she drinks it, right? I swear, because I was like, if she drinks it, if it's good enough for Helen Mirren, it's good enough for me. Because I don't know British tea, so I was like, which one do I buy? You know, like, and I was like, P&G. It's easy to remember. If she drinks it, if the dame drinks it, I'm gonna drink it. Right? So,
And did you read the script? Did you peek at her part?
yes,
Or did
yes,
you did?
yes. Because I wanted to see what her process was. You know, does she highlight everything? Which she doesn't, right? You know, what is an Academy Award winner?
Were there
how does she
notes?
prepare? Yeah, there were little notes. Yeah, little markings here and there. Yeah.
Spill the tea. No, I'm kidding. I'll move on. But that is very, very cool. I'm a huge Han stan. I love Tokyo Drift. So do so many people. There's something about your presence on screen that I use the word profound. I find his presence profound. And when I knew you were coming back and I saw that first moment, I'm like, please don't let me down. Please let it be amazing. And it was profound. Did it feel that way for you?
Profound. I wouldn't use the word profound. I would just say, you know, I was just nervous and a lot of anxiety and anxious and feeling a little insecure. Am I going to fit in again? You know, so yeah, I don't see myself as profound or anything. So you know, I don't see it at that point. It's just like, I hope I can do it justice. I hope I can actually. I hope they don't find out that I don't know what I'm doing. Is really all that's going on in my head. You know, but for the Tokyo Drifters, I would say, oh boy, are they in for a surprise? You know, this is. I think they're gonna be happy. You know, they're gonna be really happy.
I think they are too. It is. I think you called it like a feast or a buffet or something for the entire film, really, for everybody. I find your performance profound, but I appreciate the humility in your answer and the realness in your answer. And you used the word justice, and it really was, you know, justice for Han and the hashtag that brought this character back. I want to bring up a new hashtag that I want to start trending, and that is spin-off for Han. This is what I want to see next. I've heard you say that you'd be in for it. Where would you like to see Han go? Do you sort of want to have answers for where he's been and go in that direction? Would you like to move forward? And is the Shaw showdown just the inevitable? Because Jason has said he would love it, that he feels like it's the inevitable.
Yeah, I would love to work with Jason again. You know, I'm a fan anyway, so you know, to be able to share screen time with him and have a storyline together, that would be great. And yeah, I mean, I think anything is possible with, like, you know, what can happen in the Fast universe. And, you know, where I would love, you know, a spin-off for Han to go to is like where kind of, you know, the comic book heroes kind of went to the dark side, like Wolverine and Deadpool. And I think there's room to kind of go rated R version of a, you know, Fast and Furious. So when Han went dark, what happens to a person when you lose the love of your life? You know, you're not gonna all of a sudden wake up and go, I'm listening to Tony Robbins and I'm gonna start the day with sunshine. There's gonna be a dark period, right? Dark period of mourning, and I think I would love to explore that part of like, how did he come out of that? What brought him out of that dark, that dark place?
But listen, never say never that Giselle can't come back, because you are the coolest of cool couples of all time. Listen, people have called you the Yoda of this franchise. Speaking of Yoda,
yeah.
I know you're working on the Obi-Wan series.
Yes.
If the Fast series is all about family, how would you describe working on a Star Wars series?
Huh. Oh, that's a great question. Well, the Star Wars series, I would say, I guess I would use the word legacy. Legacy, in the most humble way, is that the feeling that I get on set is, aside from the characters, is that every single crew member, you look in their eyes, and it's like a kid going, I grew up, watching Star Wars. Like, this is my dream to be here. Like, to see one of the, Star Wars character, a Darth Vader character, one of the Jedis walk around. It's like, no matter how old they are, it's like this, if the 80-year-old, like guys that do my, special effect, my makeup and stuff, and people who do the costumes, to all the set designers, there's this feeling of legacy, and it's like everyone talks about history and why they, they feel so blessed to be here, right? And so there's this history, there's this kind of shared spirit and this passion of why we wanted to come into Hollywood, and the connective tissue is all these Star Wars characters. Like I used to dress up, these Kmart like Hollywood Halloween costumes. Like I had a Darth Vader one and a Luke Skywalker one. It was all put together with like duct tape after a while. And the fact that I'm, actually on set and they're putting like a Star Wars costume on me, come on, Tara, it's like pinch yourself, right? So
because this character Han was spawned out of Better Luck Tomorrow, and it was kind of it was a version of the character carried on. Is there another franchise or movie that you could see Han jumping into, that just dream kind of throwing it out there, that you think would be a cool extension of Han?
Yeah, I think he could be a character in one of the Ocean movies, don't you think? Like Ocean 14 or 15, right? He shows up to be the driver for one of the heists, right? Right, or he delivers some snacks to the guys. I don't know, So that would be cool, huh?
There's nothing more powerful than the love of family, but you turn that into anger. There's nothing more dangerous.
I wanted to ask you, this is probably one of the first, if not the first movie people will see back in theaters after not going to the theater for a long time. It was actually my first. What has going to the movies and the cinematic experience and going to the cinema meant to you in your life?
Oh, well, that's an interesting question, because obviously historically, that going to the cinema was your opportunity to get out of the house, wasn't it, when you were sort of 14, 15, 16 years old. So, and you could only ever do it at the weekend, Friday night or Saturday night. So it was always a very, very sort of special occasion. In fact, I didn't go to the cinema much when I was young, because partly for financial reasons, we literally couldn't afford to go to the cinema. But also, I think it was sort of complicated getting to the cinema in the small town that I grew up in. But subsequently, I became an usherette, actually, I was an usherette in the days when they used to have usherettes showing you to your seat in a sort of art house cinema. And I had a little torch and a black uniform, and I would show people to their seats. But, this was while I was in college. It was my sort of, Saturday job. And of course, I saw all these great movies because it was an art house cinema. So I saw one great, great movie after another. And that really introduced me to the unbelievable sort of magic of movies. And I think the whole idea of sitting in a darkened room with a lot of other people, hopefully a lot of other people, where you're communally engaging in an experience. It's very fundamental and human and a very wonderful experience. Even more so when you have a film like Fast and Furious, which has to be a communal, exciting experience where you can yell, you can shout, you can laugh, you can experience it together. You're allowed to be vocal. You don't watch Fast and Furious in hushed sort of silence, do you?
No, and that's not how I watched it. And you have to watch how you're driving on the way home. And I wanted to ask you, you are finally driving in this.
I know, at last I'm behind the wheel with a gear shift, of course. I can drive a gear shift.
Well, I know you've been on Top Gear. I know some of your past roles, even Queen Elizabeth II, you did some driving in that Land Rover.
I did in the Land Rover.
But was there anything, not that you need any help, but did you get any tips from Vin or anybody about driving in a fast movie? Or did you give them any tips or anything to add to your repertoire?
Well, I think, these guys, you do two kinds of driving in Fast and Furious. You do the real driving on the street, but you also do the driving in an articulated, car on the set. So that was you had to remember exactly where the turns were and things like that. Which incidentally was the other difficulty on the car show that I did, Top Gear. It was remembering the turns. It's always the hardest thing because you're driving so fast that you have to. Oh no, you go left here.
It was like remember.
No, I mean these guys obviously are incredibly experienced, but I'm a pretty experienced driver actually as well, and I did grow up driving a gear shift, so I know that very well, and I do know how to double declutch.
That just was the coolest thing I think you could have ever said. I know how to declutch. Best driver, real quick. Queenie, Queen Elizabeth II in The Queen, or Jane Tennison in Prime Suspect. Who's the best driver?
Oh, Queenie. Definitely Queenie.
Sure.
Oh,
Okay,
yes,
so
absolutely.
I know that you put out in the universe several years ago, I want to be in a fast movie. You spoke about it. You made it happen. You manifested it. Then you said, I want to drive in this movie. And it happened.
Yes.
Let's go to Fast 10. What's number one on your request list?
Oh, I think a good fight sequence would be great. A really good fight sequence would be excellent. So driving and fighting, yeah.
Well, let's accelerate it a little bit more. Would you ever see Queenie in a Hobbs and Shaw spinoff type movie? Would you like Queenie to have her own film?
Oh, I see. She's an interesting character. This sort of East End woman comes from, the underworld, if you like, of the East End world. A world I know fairly well. My uncle actually was a gangster in the East End, sort of pre-war and just post-war. So it is a world I know a little bit. So there are some very fierce and strong women in that world, and it would be great.
One thing I love about
I mean, and it should of course be called Queenie. So then I would have been in a film called The Queen, and then also in a film called Queenie.
It goes without saying.
And incidentally, she's named after my aunt. My aunt was actually called Queenie, Auntie Queenie. It's an old East End name.
I so thought that it was after your character, obviously.
No, not at all. No, it was named after my East End-born aunt.
So I wanted to ask you, Queenie, one of the things I think I love about her is she always makes an entrance. You don't know if she's going to show up in prison garbs, in jewels. She's never phased. But you, Helen Mirren, what is the greatest entrance or the biggest entrance you think you've ever made in your life?
I've made a few embarrassing entrances, I have to say, usually to do with falling downstairs. Not necessarily, drunk. Often more to do with an entanglement of high heels and long skirts, which is always a very, very difficult thing. People thought I'd fallen down on the wonderful stairs going up to the entrance in Cannes. You know, when you go to the Cannes Film Festival, there's this amazing staircase. And I very gracefully walked up the stairs in my beautiful gown. And then I noticed when I got to the top of the stairs that the head of the festival greets you. I noticed his shoelaces were undone. So I very elegantly and gracefully sank to my feet in front of him and tied up his shoelaces for him, which, you know, was kind of a funny thing to do.
As you do, I would think.
But then in all the newspapers, it said that I fell down, you know, at the top of the stairs. So I've taken quite a few public tumbles, whether they were real tumbles or not.
I know you've said in the past that you felt like the Bond franchise should have had a female villain.
Yes.
You are going to play, I think, for the first time, a villainess in this movie. So I know you haven't really started yet, but what do you hope to bring in terms of a female villainess like we've never seen before?
Oh, it's very hard to do something that you've never seen before. But you know, this character is ambivalent. Actually, you never quite know on whose side she's on, and also she's a goddess. So really, once you're a goddess, you can go in any direction you like, can't you? So you know, I don't know. I'll just have to let it happen when it happens. You know. But a goddess-like quality, I hope.
So Justin, first I wanted to ask you, I know you have been influenced by the Golden Girls in your life. How did it influence Fast 9, and who is Blanche? Which character is Blanche?
Well, you know, I think growing up, I was the kid that hung out, stayed home on Saturday nights. And one night they had this Hurricane Saturday night, and it was Golden Girl, Empty Nest, and it was this third. And they all happened. I was like, oh, these shows are all in the same universe. So it continues to inspire me in that a lot of our characters are from, you know, everywhere. But the fact that, you know, we can all exist in the same world, that's the spirit of Golden Girls.
Yes, and you need to have a hurricane now. This is what I'm taking away from it. At what point, I heard you say that you and Vin looked at each other and you said, Fast 9, this is the one, this is where we're going to outer space. Was it when you locked eyes with each other? What was that moment that you had that divine understanding between the two of you? Why was this the one? Because you could have waited till the final film.
Yeah, it's interesting because we've always kind of talked about all these crazy ideas, you know? And as I was working on it, we were working on Roman and Tej, and Roman's having a little bit of an existential crisis. And I was sitting there going, wow, where's this going to lead? And then it somehow just kind of went to space, and I thought, wait, am I crazy? So I called Vin, and I said, hey, man, I got to come over. I went to his house. I remember it was around Christmas because the trees were up and everything. And then we looked at each other. I talked to him, and we looked at each other, and we're like, yeah, let's do it.
You just knew.
Yeah, this is the one.
And that's where you saw the pictures of, you know, everybody on the wall. Vin has like a wall of everybody and
and strings. He has strings to everything. Yeah. Wow. It looked like a serial killer.
If you look at my note cards, it's kind of the same, so I kind of understand. Yeah. Obviously, you were the only director to bring back Han, and that's such a huge moment for fans. I know. Was it 100% driven by fans? Was that always kind of something in the back of your mind? Or did they bring that to your attention? And then what do you think fans are going to take away from it? Because it's, I don't want to give anything away, but it's a moment.
Yeah,
it's a real moment.
Yeah, it's 100% because of the fans. When I was away, I didn't watch the films, and then I started hearing this thing about Justice for Han, and I thought, is it the Fast and Furious Han? It's my Han? You know? And yeah, so I looked into it, and I found out what happened, and I thought I was equally baffled, you know, and maybe a little upset. But then so when I came back, I felt like, okay, well, we got to correct this. And I think what's great about Fast 9 is that it's a promise to find justice for Han. So it you know, the fact that he's able to rejoin us, it has special meaning to me, and I know to the fans, but it's a promise that the true justice is going to be a longer road, which means a lot more Han.
Well, speaking of the longer road, you kind of are thinking of, or at least saying that you're going to wrap things up with the next film.
Yep.
And I know you've said that directing is almost like a salad bar. You can go in a lot of different directions, a lot of different combinations. Do you have it in your mind? Do you and Vin sort of have that end game in mind, or is it still fluid?
It actually, we pretty much have it kind of set. It's a conversation that we had, you know, I think we started probably like 2010, you know, and even Paul was part of that conversation, you know, and I've always thought it was just an exercise of what if, and the fact that we're here, it just felt like, wow, you know, we've always talked about earning our new chapters, and now talking about final chapter, there was something that felt very gratifying and that we've earned. So I think we've been kind of crafting this for a while. So I think in a general term, we kind of know where it's going to go, but the roads that's gonna get there, that's still being built.
Until the fans tell you. No,
Hey,
we're not
look,
done. We need Toretto and a T-Rex.
Well, you know, it's interesting because when I started, there wasn't a lot of people as part of our community, you know, and it just kept growing. So I think it's really respecting kind of not only us, the cast, the crew, but it took everybody to build this franchise, and we definitely respect that and love that and love the passion. So we always want to respect it. So but yeah, it's always open.
Oh, hell no.